I guess kind of the first question out of the gates, I just asked Tariq about Jawan replacing the leading rusher who replaced the leading rusher. I mean, and he said he should be good with it, you know?
Well, Coach Horton, our offense coordinator and running back coach, has done a great job over the last 8 years or so, where we have an outstanding season out of our running back, and the backup's pretty good, and the backup takes over, and he has an outstanding season, and the backup's pretty good, and it's Jawan's turn. Now, the real question mark as we go into camp is the four guys competing to be the backup. We know Jawan's the guy. We don't know who the backup is yet, but hopefully we'll continue, and Jawan will have a great year, and he's got an experienced, pretty good offensive line in front of him, so we expect him to do well.
And speak to that offensive line. I mean, you know, when you have I know preseason accolades don't mean anything other than, you know, a little piece of paper, but to have two guys on the list, and, you know, and I know the rest of your line's pretty good as well.
Well, last year that was a big concern of ours because we had so many young guys playing in the offensive line, and they had some ups and downs. But late in the season, they got pretty good, and as long as their minds are in it the right way, they'll be good this year too.
Is this collectively the best group of offensive linemen you've had?
Collectively, they're potentially the best group. They haven't proved that they're the best group yet. But there's a lot of size and talent in that group. And four of the starters going into the season are redshirt sophomores. So if they progress like they should, it will be somewhere down the road. It's not yet, but it will be.
Christian now, he's been here for a while, and he's been doing it for a while. Can you speak to what he brings to this team, the leadership that he brings?
Well, I've been saying this here lately because I don't think Christian Chapman gets the credit that he deserves. I mean, all he has to do is be the starting quarterback and win one more game, and he's going to be the winningest quarterback in the history of this school. I thought the criteria for being a great quarterback is how many games you win. It's not how many yards you throw for and all that kind of stuff. It's how many games you win. So there's an argument, as long as he wins one more game as the starting quarterback, that's an argument that he might be the best quarterback that ever played here, and not one person has ever said that but me.
Is it a discredit to him that people keep saying, well, he's great, he manages games, and that's all he does?
Well, no, I think the other aspect of a great quarterback is to do a great job fitting into the system that people have put in. And Coach Horton and his staff have put in a great system that has allowed us to win a lot of games, and he fits right into that system and doesn't do anything to try to bring credit to himself. All he does is work within the system to win games. I mean, what's a quarterback supposed to do? To me, that's what a quarterback does, and I think he's done a great job of it, and that's a comfort level on earth because we have an experienced quarterback coming back in our system. That's kind of a comfort level.
And Tariq, I mean, obviously you recruited him because you knew he was a great football player, but are you surprised at his progression? I mean, you know, I guess as a player here in this system that, you know, as the warrior, as the dude?
Well, I think Tariq surprised us last year. Number one, we don't ever count on freshmen starting for us, and number two, we don't ever count on freshmen playing that well. Now, let's stop talking about Tariq because I hope there's not a sophomore jinx. He's got a long way to go yet. He's not anywhere close to as good as he can be, but he had a great year last year, but that was last year.
You talk about comfort level. Does it expand that comfort level when you have a kicker that's as consistent as John has been?
Yeah, those that have followed our team over the last few years, it wasn't too far back that we couldn't make an extra point and couldn't kick a field goal. And the only good part about that was I didn't have any question about going for it or not going for it because we couldn't make one, so you always went for it. So it was really easy to decide when you went for it and all that sort of thing. But John Barron's the best kicker in our league and is obviously one of the best kickers in the country. So it's always nice to have a guy of that caliber on your team because you know you can score anytime you get close enough you can score. He does a nice job on kickoffs too so that we start with pretty good field position on defense.
Rocky, it's easy to see the challenges of building a program. What are the challenges of maintaining a program? Are they different from your perspective?
It's much more difficult to maintain a winning program than it is to build one because as you're building one, nobody critiques you. Once you've got a really good program, everybody wants to critique you. So if you don't meet outside expectations, all of a sudden you're not any good anymore. So that psychologically, the players read all that. The players know all that. So it makes it much more difficult to continue to play at that level once you've established in everybody's mind, in the public that cares, that you're a good program. So now all of a sudden, if you don't win every game, it's not good enough.
What's the right expectation level then going into a season?
Well, our expectation level is that we're going to compete for the conference championship and go to a bowl game. That's our expectation level. Obviously, you go into every game hoping to win every game. And not very many people do that, and it's hard to do, but that's what we try to do. But our expectation level is be one of the top teams in this league and play for the conference championship.
When you get those preseason, and again, preseason says you guys are going to come in second. It was the first time, I guess, in like 3 years that they didn't pick you guys to win your portion of the conference. I mean, I guess I don't know how much motivation it is. Is it motivation for these guys?
Well, I don't know about the guys. It's not any motivation to me at all. Because if you look at the preseason all-conference list, it's all the guys that were on the all-conference teams or honorable mention last year that are coming back. Nobody thinks about that. And if you look at who they picked to win the conference, it's the 2 guys that won it last year. Nobody even thinks about that. That just makes sense to vote it that way. So it doesn't make – I've been the head coach in this league a long time, and I've been ranked dead last preseason and played much, much better than that. And we've been ranked first and came in second last year. So it doesn't matter where they rank you. I think that's a waste of time and a waste of paper and a waste of news.
Last year, this week, you talked about needed answers to questions, offensive line, how the kids are going to play, and can the young cornerbacks hold up? What's the biggest question going into this camp now that you want answers to or need answers?
There's 2 questions. We're going to be younger in the secondary than we've been here lately, and that's the quickest place you can lose a game, so that's a question mark. I think on offense, the question mark is wide receiver. I think that our wide receivers do a great job of blocking for the run, but we got to get more production out of them in the passing game. That falls on the quarterback and the wide receivers, but I think the wide receivers have to become a bigger threat.
I know this is probably above your pay grade, but the $1 million bump by the city for, I mean, when you see something like that, considering that, I mean, you guys are basically the main tenant there at Qualcomm Stadium, and when you see that, just kind of shake your head?
I don't. I've thought about that a lot leading up to yesterday, and then my job is to coach football and try to win games, so I don't think about it.
Coach, who do you think your most challenging opponent's going to be this season and why?
I don't think there's anybody more challenging than anybody else. I mean, I upset people sometimes when I consider certain games opportunity games. And all our preseason games are opportunity games. I mean, we want to win them, but we're going to use them to develop our team. We're going to try to win them. Don't get me wrong. We're going to do everything we can to win the game, and we want to win, and our players are going to put out a lot of effort to try to win those games. But those are opportunity games. Those are games to make our team better, to push toward a conference championship. So there's nobody any more important than anybody else. I think personally, as a coach, I made that mistake last year. I made a couple of games more important than the other ones, and we didn't perform very well. Our team performs the best when we take the exact same approach every single week, no matter who we play.
Speaking of that, Stanford and Bryce Love, we remember what he did last year, like right out of the blocks. It's like, I mean, way to make it easy to start there, I guess, huh?
Well, first of all, Stanford's going to be ready since we beat them last year. They're going to be excited and ready. And the most disappointed I've been all year is when the draft came out and Bryce Love decided not to go out for the draft because I was sure he was and not have to worry about him. Now all of a sudden we got to worry about him again, and I think he's the lead candidate for the Heisman Trophy, and he's a great football player. So when you play a team with a great football player, it makes it that much more difficult to win the game. So personally, I'm disappointed he's back, but I'm sure Stanford's very happy he's back.
But do you know where the fuse box is in Stanford Stadium?
Here we go. We're back to the stadium question. Now their stadium was renovated a few years ago, so I think it's a little newer.
It's hard to.
There's less chance there's less chance that will happen.
But Coach, I know you say that Stanford's a big challenge, but you got to be excited for when you see teams like that on the schedule. Not that Mountain West is no slouch by any means, but when you see a non-conference opponent like Stanford, I know you don't want to put too many eggs in this basket in this game, but it's got to be, it's a good thing for the program of SDSU to go up teams, against like Stanford.
Yeah, we did that on purpose. That wasn't by accident. A few years back, 4 or 5, maybe even 6, I've been here so long, 6, 7 years ago, the athletic director and I made an effort to contact every Pac-12 team and invite them to play us home and home. And there's only 2 that haven't done it to this point. We're still working on them, but all the rest of them agreed to home and home. And that was our doing. That wasn't their doing. That was our doing. That's on purpose. We're trying to prove to the world that we belong and we can play, which we have over the last 4 or 5 years. We have proven that we belong and we can play.
Great way to maintain the program.
Well, it helps. Obviously, it helps. Now, I wish Bryce Love wouldn't have come back. It would have made it easier, but
Don't you think they're a little bit nervous about you too, Rocky, since you bumped them off last
no, I don't think they're nervous whatsoever. I think they're probably using that as motivation to get through camp. You always have to have motivation to get through camp because camp's not any fun. Even now we're in the days where you don't have two-a-days for this. The old football players that are listening out there, when you used to go in full pads 2 times a day, it's not even close to that anymore. You can only practice once a day, and you can't be in full pads all the time. So it's not the same game that way. But on game day, it's pretty much the same game.
Where is the gap between the Power 5 and the next tier? Is it shrinking? Is it getting bigger?
Oh, the resources between what we try to do things with and what most Power 5 schools do something with is the Grand Canyon. And it's getting bigger every single day. It's getting bigger every single year. And in order to be a non-Power 5 school and compete at a high level is very, very difficult, more difficult every year. So we take great pride in that we can compete, that we don't have what they have, but who cares once you get on a football field, we can compete.
What does it mean considering the draft last year too, to have so many guys drafted so high from the Mountain West? I mean, as because I know the Power 5 has that superiority complex.
You said that, I didn't say that.
Oh.
No, it's great that our league is represented in the draft that way, because nationally it proves that we have really good players that play in our league. And I don't think they get the same national recognition as maybe players in a Power 5 league. Obviously, they don't get the same recognition as play. But the NFL, they don't care where you come from. They're picking the best football players. So when they pick guys out of our league, it shows everybody in the country that, guess what, we got some pretty good football players too. But our league suffers when it comes to national recognition as far as awards and that kind of stuff, because we had a guy that should have been one of the guys up for the Doak Walker Award. That was a joke that he was not. He should have been one of the 3 or 4 finalists for the Heisman Trophy. It was a joke he was not. But that's the way the world is, and you can't do anything about it. You just go out and play and see if you can win a game.
Not to get into the debate, but it's also, does it hurt that the Mountain West is on the West, and then there's a lot of that East Coast?
Yeah, I don't think that's a big deal, because I think it hurts the Pac-12 too. Yeah. I think anybody west of the Mississippi are hurt by the difference in time and when the games come on, and that hurts a lot of people, not just us.
Rocky, do you have anybody that won't be ready to go physically?
No, they all should be ready. They've all been cleared to go, and so as long as they don't get hurt on their days off, which happens all the time, as long as they don't get hurt at the beach or something, or on a skateboard or something, we're okay.
You've been clear that you're in favor of an expanded playoff in college football. Are you noticing any movement that way when you talk to other coaches, that they express the same sentiments?
I don't think you'll see movement until the Power 5 leagues start renegotiating TV contracts. As soon as, and this is going to happen with the trouble in sports-only broadcasting now, with guys losing, people losing jobs, and the money that they're bringing in is going down, the TV contracts are not going to be as lucrative as those Power 5 schools are used to having. And the only way they're going to be able to still continue to make the kind of money they're making is expand the playoff system. So I don't think that it's going to happen in the next couple of years, but I've been told, but I think in 2 or 3 years, all those Power 5 leagues are starting to renegotiate TV contracts. And they're going to want to make just as much money. So if you expand the playoffs, guess what? You make more money. I mean, it makes sense to me. Hope it makes sense to them.
Will you still be coaching to see it, you think?
Well, 2 or 3 years maybe. By the time it goes to 16 teams, I'll be sitting in a rocking chair watching on TV.
Rocky, do you like the new transfer rule, or do you think that's got bad tenets to it, maybe the tampering and stuff like that?
Well, number one, it hasn't been approved yet. Number two, if they approve it the way it's been presented to me, all they're going to do is make a minor league system where teams that have really good players are going to be rated by teams that have great resources. I mean, and if you have a great player on your team, he's never going to make it to his senior year because he's going to be playing for somebody else. So I think it shouldn't happen, and I think it's a bad thing for college football. But it hadn't been approved yet, by the way. That's a. Go ahead.
If the coach leaves, do you think a player should be able to transfer without sitting out here? The coach that recruited them leaves?
No, I don't. I think if you look at they sign a contract just like a coach signs a contract. When a coach leaves a school and his contract's up, they buy him out. He has to pay to leave. Well, a kid signs a contract. Well, he should pay when he leaves. I mean, and the way a player plays is he sits a year before he can be eligible. I mean, it's all. They're saying coaches have this freedom that players don't. That's not true. When a coach leaves, it costs him a lot of money, or it costs the other school a lot of money to buy him out. Well, if a player has signed a contract, it'll cost him too if he breaks the contract. I mean, I don't see that as different. There's a lot of people out there that do. I don't.
Do the bulk of the coaches that you've kind of talked to about this transfer thing have the same opinion that you do?
Well, the ones I'm friends with and talk to are old guys. So they have the same attitude I do. I think there is another side of the coaching world that has the opposite attitude, that it ought to be a free market, that you should be able to go where you want to go whenever you want to go. I think I don't know, if you take all 126 Division I football coaches, I would guess it's 50-50. But that's just the guys I bump into. I don't. That's an unofficial poll.
Last couple of questions, guys.
Tariq said he's ready to hit somebody already in practice. How anxious are you to get things underway finally?
That's Tariq talking before we have our first scrimmage. After we have our first scrimmage, he won't want to hit anybody until the first game. But I'm glad he's excited about it. I mean, coaches, we see it a little different. We see it as a lot of hard work until the week before the first game. So we're excited about practice starting. But what happens with players, they're excited until about the fourth day of practice, and then they're so sore and tired you can't hardly get them to do anything. But I'm glad he's excited right now. I'm really glad he's excited right now.
Do you see him as a leader, as just, an underclassman? Because it's always the upperclassmen that are the leaders. I mean, is there an expectation from you for him to be a leader on that defense?
I think Tariq has the potential to be a really good player. All good players are a leader in one area or another, and some of them are just by example. There's no telling who's going to be a leader of your team. That is determined by them, because the real leaders of the team are the guys that control the locker room. And the best part of that is, and I assume it's going to stay the same, the real good guys in our program that are also pretty good players are the leaders on this team. They control the locker room and makes it really nice for a coach.
Rocky, with the running backs, Bell and Jasmine and Williams and even the freshman from Arizona, how different are they style-wise, and is there any one or two that's really pushed to the forefront to be your backup guy?
Nobody has an advantage. Chase Jasmine has a little advantage because he's been here longer, so he knows the system better. So there's less chance of him making assignment errors. They do have a little bit different styles and sizes. And the size of the running back kind of determines the style that they have. The smaller they are, the quicker they are, the more they make people miss, the more they try to outrun people. The bigger and stronger they are, the more they're more. It's like Pumphrey and Penny. They're obviously different styles, but both of them are effective. I think that's the most fun thing to watch of training camp this year, is because we have 4 running backs in the program, and there's not a backup assured right now. And we're not going to touch Jawan. Nobody will touch Jawan the whole camp. But those other 4 are going to get touched a whole bunch. And hopefully in a very mean manner so we can find out who the next best running back is. But nobody has an advantage right now.
Did all your freshman recruits make it academically?
Yeah, they did. I'm glad you asked, because it just happened about 3 days ago where they're all set and ready to go, and they're all here. By the way, they're all here too.
Is there an intangible that Lindley or Haywood bring, and maybe Ron Carricker from the outside, considering what they did in the NFL, what they did in the CFL, and what Ron's done as a head coach?
I don't think there's anything yet. You know, you never know. They're just starting out in our program, so that's yet to be determined on what kind of influence they'll have on our program. And hopefully, whenever I get a chance, I try to get people to come here that have connections to San Diego State. And when you get former players that played at San Diego State, there's a special connection, which every single time, in my opinion, means that they will give it their very best effort, and they will give extra effort to make us successful. So that's fun to be around those guys too. You know, like Ryan, I don't know if he can coach or not. He was a good player. Good players don't necessarily become good coaches, but I know his heart and soul's in it. And if your heart and soul's in it, you got a chance to be darn good at it.
Does he bring a unique approach because he's a quarterback and he knows quarterback's thought process, and now he's helping your corners and safeties looking at quarterbacks?
It's too early to tell. We'll find out. You know, he's still got that quarterback attitude. Gee whiz. If you're on defense, you have to have a different attitude. We're working on him, though. We'll get him there.
That's my spot versus having him on the offensive side. And Ryan.
Very simply, because that was the spot that was open.